The NFL playoffs are just around the corner, and let's take a look at all 14 teams. And remember, if you enjoy this, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. It would mean a lot to me. Let's get right. The Miami Dolphins sneak into the playoffs based on the Jets having absolutely no offense. Miami has been a pretty dynamic team this year. However, they will not have Tua in the playoffs, which will lead to their downfall. They made the playoffs just to get absolutely murdered by the Bills. I almost guarantee this, as Skylar Thompson is just not going to carry them much farther in this playoff berth. However, congratulations on them for finally making the playoffs after a couple of years of 9-8 or whatnot. But I do not think it will be long-lived unless, somehow Tyreek Hill just absolutely carries this entire roster without Tua Tagovailoa. Despite everybody assuming that Seattle is one of the worst teams in the NFL this season, they still managed to make the playoffs, proving that Pete Carroll is one of the best head coaches in the league. Now, they did have a tough draw getting the Niners in the first round of the wild card, but I think they have a legitimate shot at upsetting the Niners and advancing onward. However, I do not think it's a great shot, but I still think they have a shot as long as Geno Smith played like he did at the beginning of the season, not as much as the end. But he still had a fantastic season. Pete Carroll led this team. It was a remarkable year for the Seahawks. The Baltimore Ravens made the playoffs after missing the playoffs last year, but they might be without Lamar Jackson when they play Cincinnati in the wild card round, as he did not practice earlier on in this week. We'll see if he plays. But if they have to go with Tyler Huntley, I don't love their odds on pulling out this victory. However, I will say in week 18, we started our third string quarterback and we gave up 21 points off of turnovers and only 27 total. I think the Baltimore defense is the key to beating Cincinnati in this matchup. I do not believe their offense is going to carry them unless J.K. Dobbins literally carries them on their back. I believe that Marlon Humphrey, Roquan Smith, and Patrick Queen will be the keys on how the Ravens win this game. The New York Giants are back in the playoffs since taking that boat picture. I don't know how far they can go in these playoffs, as I don't trust their quarterback. They do have a solid running back, a fantastic defense, and a great head coach. And they get to play the Vikings in the first round, so I think they have a legitimate shot at least getting out of the wild card round. However, I do not trust Daniel Jones to make a long playoff run. I do not think he has the it factor to get past teams like the Niners, the Eagles, the Cowboys, Tampa Bay even. I think they will beat the Vikings, but that will be the end of their run. The Chargers are going to charger this up. I think, honestly, that they can make a run if they really wanted to. However, it is the Chargers, and they've already made dumb decisions leading into the playoffs by starting their starters in a pointless Week 18 game where Joey Bosa and Mike Williams both got injured. I'm not sure if either's going to play or not, but as dumb as the decision that is, Brandon Staley makes tons of those dumb decisions, and I think, honestly, they could be a first-round exit, or they can go all the way and win the Super Bowl. With Justin Herbert, anything's possible, as the social media quarterback is one of the best in the league. Now, granted, he still has to deal with other quarterbacks and other teams that are currently a little bit better with Buffalo, Cincinnati, and the Chiefs. But I do believe that they have a legitimate shot as long as Herbert stays healthy throughout this playoff run. The Dallas Cowboys had an impressive season. However, they got an unlucky draw by getting Tampa Bay and Tom Brady, as Tom Brady has never lost to the Cowboys. On top of that, Dak Prescott has become very turnover prone, with leading the NFL in interceptions with 15 this season. However, I do believe the Cowboys' best hopes are leaning on Tony Pollard and the defense to carry them to victory. I do know they got Zeke, but Tony Pollard is the it factor in this game. If Tony Pollard goes off, I think the Cowboys have a legitimate shot at upsetting Tampa Bay and winning this game. I know they had the better record, but Tampa Bay's got to be the favorite team as long as Tom Brady's in the playoffs. I do think Dallas stands a legitimate shot at winning this game and advancing in the playoffs. The Jacksonville Jaguars had an impressive season going from last to first, drafting number 1 overall last year to making the playoffs this year, and it is all thanks to Doug Peterson and Trevor Lawrence for carrying this team to this point. How far can they go? I don't think very far. I don't think they're going to beat the juggernauts in Cincinnati, Buffalo, or Kansas City, but I do think they have a legitimate shot at winning the first game against the Chargers. I think that the Chargers will charger it up, and I give Jacksonville a legitimate shot at winning this game. However, I don't think they will go very far, as I think this first playoff run can only go so far for a franchise that hasn't made it all. But then again, last time they were here, they went all the way to the AFC Championship with an improbable run. They could do it again. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers only made the playoffs due to their division being so weak. However, they are here and they have Tom Brady as their quarterback. They can go all the way to the Super Bowl just off of that fact alone. However, this team is not the same as they have been in years past. Tom Brady looks a little bit older. Now, granted, his statistics were still pretty solid this year. But the biggest key difference is Bruce Arians is no longer the head coach, and it is now, I think, Todd Bowles, who I just don't think is set to be a head coach. I think he's a great defensive coordinator, but coaching is just not his, head coaching is not his thing. And I don't know how far they can get. I think they can beat the Cowboys, maybe get past, the Eagles or something of that nature. But I don't know how far they could go. But I think with Tom Brady, they can go all the way to the Super Bowl if they really wanted to. Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals look absolutely amazing again. And they get a bit of an easy matchup in week 1 as they get to play the Ravens probably without Lamar as he hasn't practiced yet. And I just think they can go really far. The biggest issue for them is they have to play the Bills and the Chiefs. However, Joe Burrow owns the Chiefs as he's beat them 3 times in 1 year, which is absolutely insane. I think the Bengals could go all the way back to the Super Bowl and have a legitimate shot at winning it this year. Joe Burrow and the Bengals are legitimate this year. They are one of the best teams in football, and they get an easy week 1 win as Baltimore just won't be able to completely compete without Lamar. I think this is a great season for Cincinnati, and I think this has a huge makings of them making another Super Bowl run. The Minnesota Vikings are one of the most fraudulent teams to ever make the playoffs. They had a 13-4 record and had a negative points differential. They win a lot of close games and then they get blown out by other teams. They have been exposed by Philly and Dallas, and I think the Giants have a legitimate chance at beating them this year. If Kirk Cousins wants to get rid of the moniker that he can't win in primetime, he has to succeed in this playoffs. If not, I don't think the Vikings will win anything with Kirk Cousins. They might have a couple good seasons like this one and make the playoffs and make maybe a win here and there. But I do not think that Kirk Cousins and this Vikings team can go far in these playoffs. The Buffalo Bills might be the best team in the playoffs this year. However, Josh Allen has become kind of a turnover magnet. He has thrown quite a few red zone interceptions. Those things cannot happen in the playoffs if they want to beat Cincinnati or Kansas City or even the Chargers or Jaguars for that matter. Now, I will say in this first round of the playoffs, Buffalo pretty much got a bye as Tua Tagovailoa will not be playing for Miami, and without him, I don't think Miami stands any chance of putting up any type of fight against Buffalo this week. I think Buffalo has a really good shot at running the table this year. They just have to make sure they get through Kansas City and they get through Cincinnati. Hopefully no coin screws them this year like they have in years past. I love Buffalo's chances. They're here doing it for Lamar Hamlin as well to make everything just better for them. I mean, they have a ton of motivation. They are the best team. I think Buffalo is going to be a hard team to beat. The San Francisco 49ers look like the best team in the NFC this year. Their defense is one of the best in the league. They've looked stout all season. Their offense has weapons all over the place, and they are being led by Mr. Irrelevant Brock Purdy. The biggest flaw with them is Brock Purdy. Can he manage to carry this team to a playoff win? Can he take them to the Super Bowl? It would be one of the most remarkable stories if Mr. Irrelevant could carry the San Francisco 49ers to a Super Bowl. Carrying's a bit of a overstatement as there is just a ton of talent on this team. However, it always falls back on the quarterback. Quarterback plays poor, you cannot win. I would love to see Brock Purdy, because that would be one hell of a story, take the San Francisco 49ers to the Super Bowl. The Kansas City Chiefs, even without Tyreek Hill, is still the best team in the AFC. I know Buffalo might be the better team on paper, but I can't bet against Patrick Mahomes. He just went out and had one of the best seasons the quarterback's ever had, and he lost his top weapon. Now you can make the argument Travis Kelce's his top weapon, but top receiving or wide receiving weapon. It's just remarkable what they do every single year, and they probably are just going to run the table again. Cincinnati and Buffalo are their biggest threats, and they just better hope they don't see Cincinnati as Joe Burrow owns them. However, I believe that they can make another Super Bowl. I would be shocked if they win the Super Bowl this year, as they have looked just that good all year. Patrick Mahomes is clearly the best quarterback in the league at the current moment, and there's nothing denying that at this point. And finally, we have the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles were the best team in football for a good chunk of the season. However, when Jalen Hurts got injured, they were kind of exposed. Is he going to be enough to carry them past the team like the Niners? How far can Jalen take this team, as they just haven't looked that great over the past couple weeks? Can they go back to their midseason form? Because if they can, I think they run the table in the NFC. But if they can't, I think they are leaving the door wide open for the 49ers to do what they need to do and advance onto the Super Bowl. I think it's one of those two teams that's going to decide it, and I think it's really up to Philadelphia and how they perform. How will they be able to play up the standard? For the fact that they had to go into Week 18 in a must-win situation, and I understand Jalen was hurt, but Gardner Minshew is one of the best backups in football. So for the fact that they struggled so hard with him in, does not bode me with a ton of confidence. But anyway, that is it. If you guys enjoyed, please leave a like, comment, subscribe. It would mean a lot to me. Thanks for watching.